These are new forms for legendary Pokemon, and if anyone can help fit this entire video under Game Freak's door so they can release every single one of these, that'd be great. With the old Gen 1 legendary birds coming in and surprising the fans with some brand new designs that look completely different and change them in a positive way, let's see just which 10 legends could be given some Galarian forms to both really suit them and change them up in a way we might have imagined them as before officially seeing them, or in ways to really optimize their character and lore. Let's jump into the likely candidates for new DLC forms and tweak these legendary Pokemon to be just as surprising, yet just as appealing as the new legendary birds in the new Sword and Shield expansion. Number 10. Latios. Some of the Pokemon listed here will be ones that are in there forever paired with these other Pokemon groups. But I want to specifically pick out the one for each number that's either the most desired, deserving, or a favorite to receive a form for you guys out of those that have groups of 2 or 3, sometimes 4, instead of splitting them off as one Pokemon each, since there's no way to just pick one out of a full group and leave the rest alone without riots. So yes, Latios is tagging along in discussion for number 10, and would definitely need to get one too if Latios is receiving its own regional form. Latios and Latios are very similar in their design, as shown by their Mega Evolutions. And if there's anything we need, it's an excuse to give these two new forms, so we can rectify their Mega Evolutions and give them their own custom looks that are much better. To really make Latios that jet plane speed demon its Dex entry makes it out to be, and having it be a more physically focused version for the region, a Steel Dragon version that's heavily armored as a fighter jet would be the best regional change that could be made. I mean, their Mega version did try to do that, but this more authentic armored steel look could really fix that appeal and give it a design that matches how cool original Latios is. There would then have to be something a little different for Latios, so these forms are more personalized. And while Latios could get a Steel Dragon version of itself, Latios can receive a Fairy Dragon version that's more supportive and helps out the Steel Latios so that it can truly be that older relative protecting its family like this group of 2 has always come off as. Latios is also the Eon Pokemon, and some people think time is a fairy tale, so the typing really fits. These regional designs and type changes would really suit the archetype of the more stern Latios protecting the shy Latios as a great duo, and would really hone in on what makes them the great Pokemon they are, without Latios having to transform into a human again, and getting asked for regional Gijinka forms for Sword and Shield. Number 9. TakuCoco. This is one of the few legendary Pokemon with a group that I think could just have only the main leader receiving a form in a storied kind of way, and be received rather nicely. TakuCoco has always felt like the leader of the Tapus by standing out on its own and doing its own thing, similar to the difference between the Regigigas and the other Regis, or Keldeo, compared to the Justice League if it was the leader and not just everyone's kid brother. TakuCoco could go rogue and return to Galar in a new fashion and visit the Galar region in a new dark fire form or fire electric. Not only would the fiery red colors really suit this legendary Pokemon and have it moved into being a darker land spirit, the red would also suit its new regional form named Lululemon. It would be really cool to have TakuCoco move off into a new land, leaving the tropical look behind and now becoming a dark wandering demon, firing up the totem look and becoming a lone adventurer while the rest of the group stay true to their island origins, waiting for their leading friend to cleanse off the darker evil version and see it return to its original form. I have always liked the idea of the entire group changing into the animal forms that suit them, but with the limited amount of space Game Freak is probably going to allocate to this, the leading Tapu just taking one spot would be the most likely candidate for a legendary Pokemon receiving a form. Dark Fire seems like a legendary combo, and would really branch out and extend the Guardian Deity line of the Tapus for one to leave and go on its own to have a different story from the rest that brings them all together in the end. Number 8. Palkia. A great thing about forms is seeing a Pokemon you thought should be another typing, reformed and brought into a new design to make you think, actually maybe you should have just left it alone. Countless times Palkia has been commented on to say it looks more like it should have been a Psychic Dragon than a Water Dragon, and that could be a favorite typing, giving even more pink decals and that majestic feeling with powers of flotation to bring that design a lot of you have envisioned. That's more of a specific specialized Palkia desire that makes it the front runner for this section, but of course Dialga would need to be paired along if Palkia is changing forms. The best way to synchronize these two would be to make them both a Dark Dragon. Not only does this typing not have an official legendary, but having these legendaries return to Galar as two darkened versions of time and space could really set up for an engaging story in the DLC. This might be more of a likely form change for a Diamond and Pearl remake, which is why it's a bit lower on this list, but having the two dragons come out as angered fiends after dealing in something like the Distortion World with Giratina there could make for an amazing darkened timeline or space travel side quest like the old Rarest legendary hunting locations. Also, space is dark. There's probably a few dimly lit sections without some light, and if we look back in time, that was pretty dark too. Remember the Dark Ages? They could also follow Giratina in the Ghost Dragon category, but for Generation 8, overshadowing our new Dragapult friend and not having a full-on Distortion World story for the two would be something more fitting for those Diamond and Pearl and maybe Platinum remakes. Please give us those Gen 4 remakes, Game Freak. Number 7. Cresselia. Cresselia has been a loved legendary Pokemon for quite some time. That's not only remembered for how separated it feels from the other legendary Pokemon, but its grace and looks as it stares at you while none of your Pokeballs catch it after tracking it down. While it is in the group of itself and Darkrai running through dreams and nightmares, Darkrai is a mythical Pokemon. Dark also seems like a perfect fit for another Protector of Disaster, and with there not being any solo Dark-type legendary Pokemon, it could be the first. It's a mythical Pokemon. It also has that lone rogue design that would be great to keep as its original self, and now have to fight against the two new forms of its dream rival. We've got dreams, we've got nightmares, what about reality? Normal type Cresselia it is, or normal poison right now. A pure normal type Cresselia could be a real twist, highlighting the rarely highlighted type, but giving Cresselia a more real life animal or humanistic look to really show off some origins before it became the lunar Pokemon as it roams throughout the land in its now swan-like form, breaking out of Pokeballs, now in Generation 8 as well. If we wanted to keep it as a more dreamy Pokemon, we can bring back the fairy tales and make it a pure fairy Pokemon with a more soft look to it, now making it the Pokemon of wondrous tales or delusions. Cresselia just seems like a very likely candidate for a one-off form that doesn't need to be grouped with anyone and could really shock the fans as its pure and unique design would shine with whatever look it was given. Number 6. Suicune. You know there has to be at least one beast considered for a new form in this list, and Suicune has always had that different aura compared to the other two with how it was presented in the anime, the different ways it popped up in the games instead of a chase down, and having Crystal all to itself. Entei did get a movie though, but for the in-charge box art Suicune, the most ideal typing would be a graceful move over into the tundra with a new and chill pure ice form. This could highlight in the same majestic way its original form does, and could be more of a subtle change than the drastic overhaul, to keep that mysterious encounter you've all known Suicune for. We talked about an Ice King in the last legendary video, now here's an Ice Queen. Sorry, that's an ice cream. An Ice Queen. Of course the other two need to be brought into the mix, and what would make a good trio of types and forms would be a ground version for Raikou and a rock version for Entei to sort of offset their original typings and make a really unique but fitting type trio. This would allow the two more masculine beasts to have a more rugged Generation 8 look with two rocky mountain lions that defend and protect till you get to the final boss of the icy and slightly more mystical lioness, Galarian Suicune. Number 5. Solgaleo. This might be a little difficult to actually have happen in the games with the Necrozma Dusk forms and because they were just in the previous generations. But the Generation 7 legendaries make it into the top 5 of this list because of how amazing their possible designs could be. Solgaleo just has that look that fits the Gen 8 legendaries, and we could have both of the Gen 7 legendaries adding in a sword and shield to their designs that reference Zacian and Zamazenta, without taking the spotlight away from them, and being more of a reminder, or a cosplay. Solgaleo would have to be the one with the shield for its mane, and move on over to the fire typing as we've all wanted for this lion. Sorry Pyroar. Steel Fire would be good even with Heatran already taking the typing, and the now shield main Solgaleo keeping the armored look. But we could spin it completely and keep Psychic to add in a fire main shaped like a shield for a good type. There's also Lunala, who actually just seems perfect for this as well, and might just have one of the best design concepts for the role. Instead of wings, we give it Virgil's spiral swords. Make it a steel ghost, inheriting the typing from its partner, and now it's a reference to Pokemon Sword, Zacian, and Aegislash. Lunala puts the wings away, puts on the Gucci belt, and now it has a constant hitbox continually rotating around it. Lunala also has the ability Shadow Shield, so while that'll need to be changed over to Shadow Sword, it's already been foreshadowing Generation 8 since 2016. Maybe even Nebby can have a bag form to be snuck in on the plane to Galar. Number 4. Rayquaza. Rayquaza is one of those few Pokemon where its shiny version is borderline a complete form for it, with how often it is used both in the anime and even being its signature look for Pokemon Conquest. This has constantly made people think, what if it was a dark type, or what if it had a new form? making Rayquaza one of the top picks to get a regional variant. I would really love to see Rayquaza having a fitting form change into a pure dragon. It could now be the leader of all dragons and the protector to bring them into the Gallio region with how well it saved the world and dealt with Groudon and Kyogre's temper tantrums. There are a lot of elemental types you could add into Rayquaza. Ice, electric, but now we've just knocked out Zekrom and Kyurem from the mix, so a little rough to add in there. Grass is actually not a bad typing here. Grass dragons don't really have a strong arming legendary to lead the group, and a leafy Rayquaza could really help the typing even further. And Rayquaza is also already green. Give it some nature to take care of. If its original form is clearing the weather, that's a perfect time to start gardening. You've got 2 legendaries in your generation that create dry land and rainfall, what about a lawn? Finally, it's time for Rotom Grass to shine. Number 3. Lugia. Lugia has always been one of my favorite legendary Pokemon, and with its trio of birds gaining some new forms, it's time for Lugia to emerge from the sea, take down Lawrence III on the way up, and arrive into Galar with its new water-flying form that we've always thought would be a fitting type. Making Lugia a more majestic water creature would make a lot of people extremely happy, and be an incredibly likely design with the other 3 region form birds having their guardian transform into one as well. Water Psychic is another fitting type where we don't necessarily need it to be a flying type. We can just get that feeling of a flying type from it having wings and make it more magical. There are many magical looking water psychic types. Slowbro, Slowking, Starmie, Bruxious. Imagine inheriting the narrating Pokemon of Pokemon 2000's typing, as even Slowking form changes into new types as well. Really, Lugia and Palkia could have swapped their psychic and water types and never been questioned. But what will be questioned is if we forget to mention Lugia's partner in crime, Ho-Oh, which could have it transform into one of the most pure bird Pokemon there is, by becoming one of the very few solo flying types in this game with an even more humble look than before. But if you were thinking an armored bird, Steel Fire has you covered, as you might want some fire jets on your rocketing bird, and Steel Flying might be a bit of an imposition on Corviknight and classic Gen 2 Skarmory. But if we're taking the rugged approach like its good old Beast Trio partners mentioned in their section, and mixing that with the Ho Origin look, and trying to give it a normal flying type design, we already have that, it's Scolfiro. There are many types you could include in Ho, Fairy being a fitting one for the rainbow Pokemon, but that firing rocket bird along with the submerging magical water bird seem like they make a great duo taking on the seas and skies. Number 2. Mewtwo. There's no legendary top 10 without Mewtwo getting one of the top sections, and with it being a heavily requested Pokemon to always receive new forms, as well as its legendary Gen 1 buddies getting one as well, it would be a shame not to discuss the potential looks Mewtwo could have. Although the Steel Psychic Armored Mewtwo is one that always comes up in the discussion, for regional forms, it might not be the most considered option to be implemented. The types that would be better could be a Solo Ghost, Fighting, probably Dark, or Country Boy Normal. We could have a solely based Fighting type form to tone up the look Mega Mewtwo X has, or a normal type, more human and concerned Mewtwo, where we could see the possibility if it had a nice retired life on the farm and didn't have to deal with Team Rocket. We could also have the classic evil version with Dark or Ghost, or Dark Ghost, to have a spirit version Mewtwo that delved deep into the darkness and escalated its antagonizing ways like 80% of the movie before Dan Green started to cry after turning ash to stone. Shadow Mewtwo, and actually Shadow Lugia is definitely a thing, but instead of just that darker color look, there would need to be a little more for a regional form. But a slightly different shaped evil spirit Mewtwo, or a normal, more humble looking Mewtwo with a cowboy hat could really fit the bill. Number 1. Regigigas. With 2 new Regis coming in, it's almost implied that we'll get a new form to Regigigas, and when that's the case, it means we aren't getting one. But if I had to bet on any legendary Pokemon to be the most likely to receive one, it would just have to be Regigigas. Regigigas has always been a nice addition to see the 3 Regis in Generation 3 be brought a king in Generation 4. With 2 more Regis coming in, one that looks to be electric, and another one that looks to be a pomegranate, we might have Regigigas fine-tuned and ready to add 2 more circles to its head or chest, and equipped to be a colossal opponent to face or unlock. A Steel Mechanical Regigigas could be the go-to design most people would consider. It'd be towering and robotic, so even heavier than before, changing its ability Slow Start to No Start. The robotic Regigigas is a likelihood, but a Shadow of the Colossus Ghost Regigigas could really knock some socks off as well. We might also see it kept as a pure normal typing, but with a change in stats, abilities, and looks, where it's given added attachments, armor, designs, maybe a sword, maybe a shield, or even some additional color decals to accompany the new Regis. I mean, there's no way they don't give Regigigas a new form. we're in a snowy area. It was in the Snow Point Temple, and then in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you actually have to nickname your Regice and have it hold a cold item to encounter it. Regice has to be its favorite, it's being given ice cream. And it just has to love snow. The Tundra is a perfect place to form change with 2 new Regis. You can have 5 in your party before unlocking it for the 6th member. Regigigas is a real blank slate, and an underappreciated legendary Pokemon that sometimes misses the mark, but can truly receive a lot of love and be given some ailments to upgrade it into a top of the chart legendary Pokemon.